7 years after the Bill of Rights was added to the Constitution, another amendment was ratified. This limited the powers of the federal courts in dealing with matters primarily of concern to the states. Amendment 11.
The judicial power of the United States shall not be construed to extend to any suit in law or equity commenced or prosecuted against one of the United States by citizens of another state, or by citizens or subjects of any foreign state.
In 1804, the procedure for election of the President and Vice President was clarified by amendment. Amendment 12. The electors shall meet in their respective states and vote by ballot for President and Vice President, one of whom at least shall not be an inhabitant of the same state with themselves. And they shall make distinct lists of all persons voted for as President, and of all persons voted for as Vice President, and of the number of votes for each. Which lists they shall sign and certify, and transmit sealed to the seat of government of the United States, directed to the President of the Senate.
The President of the Senate shall, in the presence of the Senate and the House of Representatives, open all the certificates, and the vote shall then be counted. The person having the greatest number of votes for President shall be the President. The person having the greatest number of votes as Vice President shall be the Vice President.
But no person constitutionally ineligible to the office of President shall be eligible to that of Vice President of the United States. Then, for 80 years and one, the Constitution proved reasonably adequate to the needs of the expanding nation. This was a period of great national growth, marked by the admission of 19 new states to the Union, and more than a 6-fold increase in the nation's population, from 5 to 32 million people. It was also the period when the Union was rent and torn by the war between the states. In the aftermath of that war came the 3 Reconstruction Amendments. The first of these is Amendment 13.
Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction.
Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation.
Amendment 14.
All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws.
The Congress shall have power to enforce by appropriate legislation the provisions of this article.
Amendment 15.
The right of citizens of the United States to vote will not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude.
The Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation.
43 years passed, until in 1913 the power of the federal government to tax incomes was assured by Amendment 16.
The Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes on incomes, from whatever source derived, without apportionment among the several states, and without regard to any census or enumeration.
The same year, a significant and fundamental change was made in the method of selecting senators. They had previously been chosen by the state legislature. Amendment 17 provides for their direct election by the people.
The Senate of the United States shall be composed of 2 senators from each state, elected by the people thereof, for 6 years, and each senator shall have 1 vote.
When vacancies happen in the representation of any state in the Senate, the executive authority of such state shall issue writs of election to fill such vacancies. provided that the legislature of any state may empower the executive thereof to make temporary appointments until the people fill the vacancies by election, as the legislature may direct.
The problems and pressures of World War I changed the thinking of people everywhere. In the United States, two controversial amendments to the Constitution were proposed, fervently argued, and ultimately ratified. Amendment 18, which prohibited the manufacture and sale of intoxicating liquors, was subsequently repealed. Amendment 19.
The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex.
The Congress shall have power by appropriate legislation to enforce the provisions of this article.
In 1933, the need for two more amendments was recognized. They were enacted by the people. Amendment 20 modernizes certain of the Constitution's original provisions to bring them in line with the realities and requirements of the 20th century, and thus provide for a more efficient function of the federal government.
The terms of the President and Vice President shall end at noon on the 20th day of January, and the terms of Senators and Representatives at noon on the 3rd day of January.
The Congress shall assemble at least once in every year,
And such meeting shall begin at noon on the 3rd day of January, unless they shall by law appoint a different day.
If at the time fixed for the beginning of the term of the President-elect shall have died, the Vice President-elect shall become President. If a President shall not have been chosen before the time fixed for the beginning of his term, or if the President-elect shall have failed to qualify, then the Vice President-elect shall act as President until a President shall have qualified.
and the Congress may by law provide for the case wherein neither a President-elect nor a Vice President-elect shall have qualified, declaring who shall then act as President, or the manner in which one who is to act shall be elected.
And such person shall act accordingly until a President or a Vice President shall have qualified.
Then, for the first and only time in history, an amendment to the Constitution was nullified by subsequent amendment. The 18th Amendment and the so-called Volstead Act, which had established national prohibition, were repealed by Amendment 21, but at the same time the people extended to the states complete authority to restrict at their option the sale of alcoholic beverages. Amendment 21.
The transportation or importation into any state, territory, or possession of the United States for delivery or use therein of intoxicating liquors in violation of the laws thereof is hereby prohibited.
In 1951, following Franklin Roosevelt's precedent-shattering four-time election as president, the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution was passed.
No person shall be elected to the office of the President more than twice, and no person who has held the office of President or acted as President for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected President shall be elected to the office of the President more than once.
On April 3, 1961, the 23rd, and as of now the last amendment to the Constitution went into effect, which for the first time authorized residents of the District of Columbia to participate in the election of the President and the Vice President of the United States.
The district constituting the seat of government of the United States shall appoint in such manner as the Congress may direct a number of electors of President and Vice President equal to the whole number of senators and representatives in Congress, to which the district would be entitled if it were a state, but in no event more than the least populous state. They shall be in addition to those appointed by the states, but they shall be considered, for the purposes of the election of President and Vice President, to be electors appointed by a state. And they shall meet in the district and perform such duties as provided by the 12th article of amendment.
The living Constitution of the United States, supreme law of our land.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
with liberty and justice for all.